our fall semester 2015 speech showcase. Weber State University President Charles White will now give us our welcoming address. President White.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, everybody. Is this on? Good evening, everybody. Okay, thank you. This is a great crowd and a great event. Thank you all for coming out today. Those who live by the phrase, less talk and more action, clearly have never heard a really good speech. So, action is important. But if we look at examples across history of great leaders, Lincoln, Churchill, Gandhi, Mandela, King, each of them used rhetoric to call others to action. Think back to the civil rights movement for a moment. If Martin Luther King Jr. had not had a tremendous gift of oratory, if he had not articulated his dream with such fervor, such conviction and moral authority, would that movement have galvanized the way it did? I don't think so. It might have happened, but it would have been delayed. Great words project great power. They change the course of thought, they change the course of action, and they change the course of history. But we must also be on guard that the work of these great orators is not undone. Today is December 10th. It's Human Rights Day, International Human Rights Day. And as we celebrate that day, some prominent people across the globe are advocating policies that would discriminate against refugees and immigrants on the basis of race, on the basis of ethnicity, nationality, and even religion. Muslims, Syrians, and non-Christians seem to be particularly at risk today. But these proposed policies are born from fear. And it is our responsibility, it is our obligation, it is our moral imperative that we stand up and say, no, this is not right. No, this is not right. If we do not have freedom, human rights, and respect for everybody, then we have it for nobody. Too many people have fought and died to protect our freedoms for us to give them up without a fight. So let's not have less talk. Let's have more talk. Stand up. Speak the truth. With better communication, we can create a better world. And together, we can counter the forces that threaten a just and peaceful society. We can learn from each other, be inspired by one another. We can be spurred to action. Tonight's speakers are few of the best communicators that Weber State has to offer. Their ability to describe and emote and convince is undeniable. Whether they're talking about eating insects for nutrition, or asking people to be prepared in an emergency, or just to smile more. So tonight's honorees, I challenge you to make the most of your gift. Your ability to speak well comes with an obligation to transform lives. You might do it while you're in the workplace, you might do it while coaching at a neighborhood game, or you might do it on a stage in front of thousands of people. Please use your gift to inspire others to actions that will change the world for good. Thank you and enjoy tonight.
Thank you, President White. We must recognize special guests who are in the audience. So if your name is stated, please stand. Bill Cook, Executive Director, Ogden City Council. Dr. Cherie Josephson, Chair of the Department of Communication. Dr. Madon Miner, Weber State University Provost. Dr. Natalie Williams, Associate Professor, Teacher Education, and Co-Director of CAPES. Dr. James Zagrodnik, Assistant Professor, Health Promotion and Human Performance, and Co-Creator and Director of CAPES. Dr. Catherine Zublin, Interim Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities. The Department of Communication wishes to specifically thank those who have contributed hours, days, months, weeks, and years to see the Weber Speaks and Speech Showcase take place. Please, our adjunct instructors, stand. Crystal Lee Beck. Thank you. I didn't see Fran. Is Fran here? No? Okay. Dr. Frank Richardson. Dr. Randy Scott. Leslie Simpson. Did I see Leslie? Oh, she's not here. Kim Smith. And Gail Speechley. The Department of Communication Public Speaking Instructors. Dr. Cynthia Bishop. Oh, she's not here. Dr. Veronica Dawson. Omar Guevara, Director of Forensics. Where are you, Omar? All the way in the back. There he is. Dr. Becky Johns. And over in the corner, Dr. Alex Lancaster, Director of Communication 1020 and 2110. And Brent Warnock, Speech Showcase Coordinator. Our selection committee members, Dr. Barrett Bonella from Social Work. Dr. Colleen Packer, Department of Communication, and also Director of the Teaching and Learning Forum. Dr. Sarah Steimel, the new Director of the Master of Professional Communication. And Amy Wicks, Ogden City Council member. And an extension of gratitude and recognition must be made to Sonia Green, Ann Ludlow, and Sherry Love for the preparation, certificates of awards, materials, decorations, and special effects that we'll be seeing this evening. I collectively extend my arms around each of these people to give you all one giant hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our honored guest, Pastor France Davis, extends regrets for his absence this evening due to an untimely death in his family. In lieu of Pastor Davis, we shall hear from Dr. Roderick Land later in the program. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Land. Tonight we celebrate the opportunity to hear and applaud 6 showcase speakers from our Communication 1020 public speaking classes during the fall semester 2015. More than 60 sections of public speaking is taught each academic year at Weber State University. Each semester, one Communication 1020 public speaking student is selected to participate in the Selection Saturday Speech Festival. This semester, we heard from 25 speakers. Our 5 selection committee members determined to showcase 6 of these people. The speeches were that good. We will congregate again in April 2016 to hear the spring semester speakers. This is a tradition that we hope will continue without end. The experience and thrill and personal benefits of being a showcase speaker, like the 6 we will hear this evening, is a grand accomplishment. Would you agree, people? Weaver Speaks continues the tradition of supporting the pillar of democratic engagement in association with the Center of Community Engaged Learning. 8 Weaver State University 1020 speakers have engaged in that democratic process, delivering speeches addressing the topics of inclusive communities to the Ogden City Council and CAPES, an acronym for the Children's Adaptive Physical Education Society, to the Clearfield and Layton City Councils. For the first time, a group from Communication 2110, interpersonal and small group communication, bridged the pillars of community service and democratic engagement in combination with Weaver Speaks. Allison Borens, please stand, and Alexa Davis and Ashton Sprague have been awarded a certificate of appreciation from the Department of Communication for their service. To explain CAPES and the bridge between these pillars of community engaged learning, please welcome to the dais the 4th member and spokesman for this group, Madeline Rooker.
Good evening. It is wonderful to be able to have the opportunity to be here tonight to share a bit about CAPES. The Children's Adaptive Physical Education Society was started a handful of years ago by Dr. Patrick Latham and Doctors Natalie Williams and James Zagrodnik, who are in attendance here this evening. CAPES is a program that works with children who have developmental disabilities and their families, giving each child access to land and aquatic activities to help them to hone their mental and physical skills, as well as giving their parents access to parental facilitation support groups and the gym and stress management facilities here at Weaver. What is so incredible about the work that is being done by CAPES every day is that there is an emphasis put on helping each child to become more independent. Instead of being taught that they ought to avoid things because of their disabilities, each child is told that there is nothing that they cannot do. At the end of each semester, the new children in the program are awarded with a cape like this one. And this is a ceremony that is so well loved and so looked forward to by each child and by their families, because when these kids get these capes and when they're put around their necks, they feel invincible, and it makes them feel like superheroes and like there's nothing that they can't do or overcome. It has been an absolute privilege for myself and for my group to have the opportunity to work with CAPES this semester as a program that is truly changing the lives of people in our community every day, and also to work with Weaver Speaks as part of the College Town initiative that is helping us to create school pride here on campus and in our communities around northern Utah. Thank you.
Dr. Josephson and Sonia Green, will you please stand at the base of the dais here to award the Weaver Speaks recipients. Our Weaver Speak recipients are Colton Farron, Carver Nicholas, Jesse Saltzgiver, Connor Simmons, Oliver Schick, Whisper Spence, Dallin Zog, did I miss someone or did I? What's it? Oh, okay. I gave Dallin for, okay, Dallin, come, sorry. Move back, Tyler, I'm sorry, I got one ahead of myself. That was Tyler, this is Dallin. Okay. Okay, Dr. Josephson and Sonia, please remain at the dais to award the Speech Showcase semifinalists. These individuals were part of the field of 25 speakers during the Selection Saturday Speech Festival that was just conducted this last week. Our first honoree is Dante Atkinson. Marta Bennett. Ben Bigelow. Taylor Carlson. Brendan Child. Did I miss one? Okay. All right, Mark DeYoung. Jackson Hanson. Parker Martin. Lexus Merrill. Where oh, she's back in the bed there. Carver Nicholson. Okay, well, oh, Nicholas. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Jack. All right. Thank you. Colleen Orton. Ingrid, and I hope I say this correctly, Osequera. Osequera. Benjamin Palmer. Ryan Schoonover. Connor Simmons. Levi Smith. Brianne Walters. And Tyler Wilson. Thank you, Dr. Josephson and Sonia. You may return to your seats. Now the long-awaited opportunity to hear our Speech Showcase finalists. Our first showcase speaker is from North Ogden and will graduate next week with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. Her emphasis, drawing and painting. Holly Morfitt.
Several years ago, I worked at an art store and gallery, and a young woman named Hope asked if I would paint her portrait. I had never painted a portrait from life, but a few weeks later, I arrived at her front door with my oil paints and my brushes, and when she opened her front door, I had to stop myself from flinching because I was so stunned by what I saw. I'm going to talk to you today about a problem that has likely been affecting humanity since its beginning. The reason I stood so stunned on Hope's doorstep was because she answered the front door wearing a short-sleeved shirt and both arms were covered in scars. Despite my shock, I continued to come to Hope's door every week to work on her portrait. Sometimes she would answer the front door with bandages covering her arms, saying she had an episode. Yet she trusted me to paint her with every self-inflicted mark, because I understood. Self-harm is the willful destruction to one's own bodily tissue for non-suicidal purposes. And for 2 years of my life, I cut myself. I didn't tell anyone about the problem that I faced. I thought they would think I was a freak. Researchers are now stating that among teenagers and young adults, 1 in 5 are self-harming. In the past 2 years, self-harmers between the ages of 14 and 10 years old have increased 75%. Self-harm does not differentiate between gender, race, or age. I taught art lessons to a teenage girl. Her mother was suffering from self-harm. She had been married to a man addicted to pornography, and he would sadistically act out what he saw onto her. The only way she felt any control over her life was to literally cut into her own skin. I understand how much control that might seem to get you, because at one point in my life I nearly went back. But I knew if I returned to self-harm, I would lose something that I would never be able to get back. So I put on my old running shoes and I went to my high school track and I ran my first mile in 10 years. And that mile gave me something to focus on. I worked that mile all the way up to my very first 5K. And on New Year's Eve, at 11:30 p.m., I ran the Beat the New Year 5K. And it was so crazy. There were people wearing costumes. There were people wearing almost nothing, just their swimsuits. There was a man dressed up like a hot dog running down the street. And that experience was so inspiring for me that I decided I'm going to do something new every week this year, which included my first painting from life, my painting of hope. I recently tried to get back in contact with Hope. I received no response. I even contacted mutual friends. No one knew what had become of her. And all I could think about were those frequent ambulance rides she would make to the ER. And then Hope contacted me. She was living with her parents. She had a job. She was a full-time student. And on her bedroom wall was the painting I had done. The painting of her became her own new experience. And through that, she found that she had something to replace self-harm. She had found her voice. Hope told me that since the experience of this painting, she has never cut herself again. Finding the courage to speak about self-harm grants us the power to overcome it.
Who was her instructor?
Two-year-old whore.
Holly has informed me that this experience with public address and the speech showcase will become part of a book she is authoring, fittingly titled Cutting Free. Hailing from North Ogden, our next showcase speaker is a sophomore majoring in earth science and the father of 3 children, Aaron Cook.
MotherJones.com published an article earlier this year in January with the title, "We're Destroying the Planet in Ways That Are Worse Than Climate Change." According to this article, we're also destroying the land, the oceans, and driving species after species into extinction. And all this as our population continues to grow, our lifespans increase, and on a planet with finite resources. Now, all of this destruction is related and can be boiled down to one main problem. And that problem is, listen carefully, that our food consumption patterns are driving environmental destruction. Now, this is a serious problem, and to get a better grasp of this, we'll look at two sources. The first one from an article in the Cornell Chronicle from 1999 with the title, "The U.S. Could Feed 800 Million People with the Grain That Livestock Eat," tells us that the agricultural industry in the United States is a leading consumer of water resources. To produce 1 single pound of meat, water requirements range from 420 gallons of water for chicken to well over 12,000 gallons of water for beef. That's 1 pound. That is insane usage of water in this day and age when drought is becoming more and more commonplace. Our second source comes from a presentation given at the University of California in Irvine by Fiorea Gardea. She titled it, "The Meat Industry, Is It Worth It?" According to Ms. Gardea, 56% of our agricultural land in the U.S. is for the production of meat. The strains on the land include the depletion of minerals, the loss of our forested areas, and topsoil erosion. Now we can see the drastic and costly effects that our requirements, our want for meat have on this planet. And when you spread these effects across the globe with rapidly industrializing nations joining this path with us, you can see that our planet's health is in serious danger. And we need protein, and for many people, animal products are their main source, as well as for other nutrients, calcium, iron, and so on. But luckily for us, there is a solution. So listen carefully. The solution to this is the replacement of our meat consumption with insect consumption. Now, before anyone here gets grossed out, I have 3 items for you to consider, all right? First one, from a comprehensive report released in 2013 by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, a report titled "Edible Insects, Future Food and Feed Security," tells us that at least 2 billion of the world's population are already doing this. Insects such as crickets, caterpillars, beetles, so forth. Okay? That's a quarter of the world's population already doing this, way ahead of us. Okay? And not all of these people are living in the depths of poverty. Okay? You can find dishes featuring insects in major cities and upscale restaurants across the globe. Second item, Entimo Farms in Montreal, Canada, a major producer of crickets for human consumption mainly, for North America. They take their crickets, they roast them, and then they grind them up into a product which they call cricket flour, which is easily introduced into your favorite recipes. Anybody for a chocolate chip cookie with crickets? According to their website, compared pound for pound of beef, crickets provide 2 times the amount of protein, 3 times the iron, and 5 times the magnesium. They also contain all of your daily recommended vitamin B12, high amounts of calcium, and zinc. Okay? Now, our final source. Go to Big Cricket Farms in Youngstown, Ohio. They like to discuss the cost benefits and lack of resources, or the less resources that it takes to raise their crickets. According to Big Cricket Farms, to raise crickets to get 1 pound of edible meat from them, it takes them 1 gallon of water, 2 pounds of feed. Okay. For the feed, to compare it with our traditional sources, that's 2 times less than chicken and pigs, 4 times less than sheep, and 6 times less than cattle. And this is using the most conservative numbers. Now, I'm not asking that as we leave here, we wait for the weather to warm up and then go dig up some grubs and chow down Lion King style. That's not what I'm asking. What I am asking, though, is when the showcase is finished, I will set some flyers outside these doors and one of these tables out here. Pick one up. They're going to point you into the direction of a couple of websites. The first one, you're going to take a look at a video. That video, you're going to watch a couple of people try insects for the first time. It's going to be an Oreo cricket milkshake. See how they react. See how they like it or don't. The second source, an article, a very short one, so easy to read. It will introduce you to the wide variety of culinary uses and recognizable flavors that you can find among insects. So take a look at these. And in closing, we have a lot of changes that we need to make to save our planet. But luckily for us, some of these changes are as simple as changing what's on our plate. Thank you.
Boy, that was a creepy speech, wasn't it? Well done, Aaron. Well done. You know, we were talking yesterday after, we all eat insects every day. You know, our government allows a certain amount of insects to be ground into our flour. We just can't get them out, so we might as well just get used to eating it. Okay, and I'm delaying for time, as you can see. Originally from Vail, Colorado. The next showcase speaker is a junior majoring in microbiology. He is also a member of the Weber State NCAA National Championship men's soccer team. So please welcome Trevor Grayson.
According to the National Center for Learning Disabilities, 12.1%. Is it on? According to the Center for National Learning Disabilities, 12.1% of children from kindergarten to 12th grade are diagnosed with a learning disability. That means in this room right now, there are a minimum of 25 people with a learning disability. Look around. Who are they? Do you know who they are? They don't talk any different. They don't look any different than the rest of you. I am one of those 25 people in this room with a learning disability. When I was in 2nd grade, I was diagnosed with a severe form of dyslexia. I was told by doctors I would never leave home, that I would stay at home and that my parents should prepare to have me live with them for the rest of my life. I couldn't read or write until I was 14 years old. School was awful. When I was in middle school, I got bullied, verbally and physically. There were a lot of tears shed. The issue that I have with this is not just my experience, but it's the experience that I have with all of the people that I've associated with learning disabilities. And this is why I asked the teacher that has been teaching for 3 years how much time he's been trained how to deal with children with learning disabilities. His response, 2.5 hours a year. That's it. It is absolutely unacceptable for us to say that we've mastered No Child Left Behind when we are only training our teachers 2.5 hours per year how to deal with children with a learning disability. There was a recent study done as well by the National Center for Learning Disabilities, and they found that 22% of the general population in the United States think that a learning disability is a result of laziness. Think about that. 1/4 of our population thinks that I'm lazy, and that my issues and my tears came because I was lazy, and because every other person in here with a learning disability was lazy. Something has to change. Something has to be tweaked in our minds to understand these children, to understand ourselves, to think about how they feel. It is unacceptable for a child to get bullied in school for being different. Don't we now promote to be different? We look at gays and lesbians. They have their rights, rightfully so. People with racism, they have their rights. Those things don't make a difference. But for some reason, a learning disability still makes you weird and still negates your ability for certain things in this life. I was denied jobs because I was dyslexic. Something I've learned throughout this time with my struggles that I've had was parents are the best advocate for these children. My mom and my dad were the best that I had. They fought for me. They went to the Board of Administrations and they fought. I remember my dad getting kicked out of meetings. He would get so infuriated with the teachers saying, "Your child's lazy. He's failing because he's not doing his work." My self-worth and every child's self-worth is not dictated upon the way you perceive me. And neither should the way I perceive you dictate how you feel. Children at such a young age, kindergarten through 12, are so moldable, so pliable to become what people push them to be. I was pushed to not even learn. I was passed through class because teachers didn't want to deal with me. I don't perceive myself the way that you perceive me. If you saw me when I was in middle school or elementary school, you would laugh because I was the kid that couldn't read. So one day, I had the idea, I'm going to be a doctor. And I'm going to help people. And so I went to my mom and said, "This is my dream, this is my goal." She looked at me and she said, "Let's make it happen." I was fortunate. The National Center for Learning Disabilities put 72% of their income into teaching parents, which is phenomenal. But shouldn't we take more of that 72% and put it to teaching our professors and our teachers that are now molding and plying these children to what we want them to be? That needs to change. We need to change the way we think and the way we treat children. They need to become acceptable. They need to feel like they are needed in this world. I'm heading off to med school in a year. I feel needed, and I am lucky. I have defied everything I was taught and told I would be. You need to change someone else's life. Make them feel needed.
Boy, we must have some great instructors on this campus. The tallest showcase speaker, standing 6'8", is a sophomore from Farmington. He is multilingual, speaking Tagalog, and I bet you can't guess where he spent 2 years of his life. But please welcome to the podium, Nathan Tinsley.
As a senior in high school, I had the opportunity of auditioning for and becoming a member of the 2013 Utah All-State Band. After taking the time to independently prepare the difficult music, we met for 2 full days of rehearsal with a guest composer, Samuel Arheza, before performing at Abravanel Hall in Salt Lake City, Utah. In one of the highlights of my high school experience, I got to perform with 113 of the best student musicians in the state as one of my favorite composers. The only reason why we got to enjoy this experience and enrich our academic education with this was because we had the arts in our high school. These arts, and not just music, but also visual arts, creative writing, theater, and dance, play a profound role in the development of students and prepares them for life. I would like to discuss today concerning the alarming decrease of arts in education, the academic and social benefits of these arts, as well as the positive impact that they have on our communities. The question concerning the importance of the arts in academics has been heavily debated throughout history. In the 19th century and the early part of the 20th, the arts enjoyed a steady rise in education, as schools began to offer arts courses, and people began to do research to see what kinds of value there was to the arts in education. This rise came to an abrupt halt, however, in the 1980s, when in 1983, President Ronald Reagan delivered a report entitled "A Nation at Risk," in which he addressed what he called a rising tide of mediocrity among America's public schools. This report led to a greater focus on English and math, and as a result, the arts were de-emphasized. As we can see here, especially music and visual arts suffered tremendous budget cuts beginning in the 1980s down to the present time, as English and math skills became indicators for whether or not a school was flourishing by national standards. This raises the question then, is this a bad thing? What are the benefits of the arts in education? Why do we even care about this? Our schools provide an ideal environment for both academic and social development, especially through the arts. In a study to indicate the academic value of the arts in education, Evelyn Schellenberg found that a group of 6-year-olds that went through a year of school and were given either keyboard or voice lessons raised, on average, 2.7 IQ points more than a group of students that did not receive these lessons. And though this group of drama students did not increase in IQ, their adaptive social behavior improved dramatically as compared to this control group. In another study, John Janitis found that a group of musicians under fMRI brain imaging showed greater brain activity when engaged in rote memorization than did a group of non-musicians, indicating their ability to use these memory skills acquired through music and apply them in a context outside of that music. Beyond the academic value, the positive traits and social skills developed through these arts produce well-rounded individuals that are educated to deal with life. We might define an education simply as the active process of preparing oneself or others intellectually for mature life. Would it be fair to suggest that the principles of teamwork, leadership, work ethic, and self-discipline acquired through something such as marching band or dance would be a benefit to a mature life? Yes, we need individuals that can take these math tests and do well at them. But if these same individuals are socially inept and incapable of forming interpersonal relationships, will these individuals be a benefit to our society? And are we truly accomplishing our goal of producing well-rounded individuals that are ready to handle life? To more fully illustrate this point, as well as the impact of the arts in our communities, I'd like to share a personal experience. This is Andrew Tolman. Andrew's been my best friend since 6th grade, and in the 7th grade we joined the band together. We played the trumpet, I played the trombone, and we quickly formed a solid group of friends and hung out with them all the time. When we went to high school, 8 or 9 of my closest friends went to Davis High School, and Andrew came with me to Newmont, and he was always there with me. To my junior year of high school, on March 27th of 2012, I received a call and was told that Andrew had been hit by a car and killed. I remember the following morning going into the band room, seeing all my friends in there. We didn't go to our classes that morning, we just sat in a circle and shared memories about Andrew. Following this experience, the Viewmont band came together and raised enough money to commission a piece of music to be written in honor of Andrew's memory. This piece of music, entitled "The Song Shall Never End," was written by Dr. David R. Gillingham. And according to the program notes in the band concert, the overall musical intention of the work was to somehow help Andrew's family, the band, and his friends deal with this tragedy in a way that transcends words. Andrew's song was performed in a memorial band concert for him in March of 2014, and went on later that year to be performed in Chicago by the Utah Wind Symphony at the Midwest Clinic, one of the largest music conferences of its kind in the nation. I challenge you to think of the last time you took a math test that was dedicated to the memory of your best friend. In conclusion, these arts play a profound role in the development of students and prepares them to interact intellectually and socially with the world. Though they are declining in education, these arts play a critical role in that social and academic development and provide a support in communities in times of tragedy. This decline of the arts in education can stop with you. Take an arts class. You may never have the chance to make a friend like Andrew without one.
An Ogden junior majoring in elementary education with an emphasis as a math specialist, this mother of 3 children is sure to make you grin. Christine Bowman.
I'm so excited to be here today. I want to talk to you about something that is pretty fabulous and phenomenal, and it has been scientifically proven to decrease your stress, to increase your productivity, to help your relationships to grow stronger, and to even make you more attractive. And I'm not talking about any kind of illegal substance. I am talking about your smile. And I see some people thinking, oh, this is such a silly topic. We've heard some fabulous talks today about some very important issues. I want to tell you a story, though. I have spent the last 12 years of my life at home with my kids. They're right over here. They're very cute. And we know that little children, they love to smile, right? Research has shown that the average child smiles 400 times a day. Average adult smiles 20 times a day. That's an important thing to know. So I have spent the last 12 years of my life surrounded by these beautiful kids that love their mommy and just smile constantly all the time. And it has been fabulous. Well, I came back to school this last fall, and I have been greeted with more like this. And I was thinking, oh, what is going on? I feel like I'm overshadowed. I feel like I'm lost. I feel like I'm being ignored, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I finally thought, you know what? I'm missing all the smiles. And I thought, I'm going to do some research on this. I'm going to figure out if this is really important or if this is just some weird quirk in me. And what I'd like to do is tell you some of the research that I found that is fabulous, that's showing that smiling is really effective, that it does some fabulous things for our brains, that it helps our bodies, it helps our relationships. So what I'd like to do is talk to you first about our bodies. I see some of you already trying out these smiles on these pictures. This is normal. This is what we do. We like to look at people. We can tell how they're feeling by the way that their face looks. So a smile actually starts outside of us with our senses. We maybe hear a favorite song, or we taste something really yummy, or we see a friend that we haven't seen for a long time. And this information is coming into our brain, and it's telling you, oh, you're happy, right? You love this. And so what happens, this man over here is engaged in what's called a social smile. This is fake. We don't smile like this. This is when just the muscles in your cheeks, it's called the zygomatic major muscle, is engaged. And it just kind of turns the corners of your cheeks up, and it's not really very great. This smile over here is called the Duchenne smile, or a genuine smile. It also activates the muscles around your eyes, called the orbicularis orbital muscles. And it kind of crinkles up your eyes. We're afraid of these crow's feet in our eyes, right? So those are perfect. We want to have those kinds of wrinkles. This is a genuine smile. And this is what I'd like to talk about. This is what's just happening on the surface of your face. But inside your brain, even better. When we smile, your brain is releasing all these chemicals and all these hormones that are telling you, oh, it's okay. Lower your stress, breathe a little bit. It's all right, you're going to be okay. These happy chemicals, right? Endorphins and the dopamine and the serotonin and all these things that we think maybe we need to go buy somewhere, they're there. They're there, ready for us. All we've got to do is smile and activate those. It also affects our bodies. Now, they've done a study in Aberdeen, Scotland at the Face Institute that shows that both men and women are more attracted to people who will make eye contact and smile. We want to be attractive, don't we? Even more important than that, though, is it actually can heal our body. They've done a study with several children in hospitals, and they found that these kids who are visited by storytellers and by puppeteers and by people who make them laugh, they actually heal faster. Their immune systems are strengthened, which is fabulous. We don't want to be sick. We want to be healthy. Smiling can actually make you live longer. Can you believe that? A study done in 2009 was very, very interesting. These researchers got all 230 baseball cards from 1952, and they organized them into 3 different groups. We got the no smilers, the partial smilers, and then that Duchenne genuine smile. And they found that the baseball players that have that genuine smile live an average of 7 years longer. They took into account their marital status, their education, and how many years they played in the major leagues, and they found that the smile on their baseball card was more indicative of their longevity than anything else, which is fabulous. Smiling is perfect for our relationships. I want you to think of the next time you go into a new semester, new class. Now, who are you going to sit by? You're going to sit by the kid over here that's totally engaged in their phone. You're going to sit by the lady over here that's just got this aura of nobody come by me. I've got my own thing going on. Are we going to sit by the person that looks up and can make eye contact with you and smile, right? Research has shown we trust people that will smile at us. We feel more comfortable. We feel more confident. we're more excited to help somebody who will smile than somebody who will not. And I want you to think about that for a minute. When was the last time you helped somebody that was really grouchy and were you excited about it? So what if smiling isn't your thing? You know, some of us maybe feel a little bit awkward, like I don't really want a new relationship right now. I don't want to talk to anybody. I've got my own stuff going on. I'm busy, right? It's okay. We can practice it. I have a friend that used to smile at herself every time she walked by a mirror. And it wasn't just a, oh, there I am, I'm so cute. It was like, I'm going to stop, I'm going to look, I'm going to fix my hair, and I'm going to smile until it's perfect. Her mom totally made fun of her, but she had a beautiful smile, and she could put people at ease like you wouldn't believe. And it was so fun because she was good at it. It's something that we can practice. Another thing that's important is we need to find something to smile about. There are so many awful things going on right now. Let's not focus on them. We need to learn about them. We need to be knowledgeable. But why do we need to focus on it all the time? Let's smile. We've got friends. We've got silly knock-knock jokes. Whatever you can think of, find a good reason to smile and to laugh. Smile before a stressful event. Maybe you've got a job interview coming up, or you have a final, right? We've got lots of finals coming on. Study. You need to study. I'm not telling you smile away and go ace your final. Study. But right before you go in, take a break. Smile at yourself. Let all those hormones and chemicals go through your body. Relax. You will be just fine. One last study that I like to reference is fake it till you make it idea. Researchers actually took 88 students, college students, and they taped their cheeks up into like a permagrin. And so silly, for a day. And I'm not suggesting that we do this. That would be ridiculous. But 85% of these college students reported feeling happier that day and doing better in the things that they needed to do. Now, what I'd like to encourage you to do is think about what our campus and what our cities and what our communities would look like if we would smile at each other instead of going around stuck on our phones constantly all the time or afraid of actually meeting a friend. We don't need to be afraid. We can look at things, we can smile, and we can certainly be happy about our life. So I encourage you next time you meet somebody or walk by somebody to make eye contact and smile.
Boy, if I could sing, I'd probably break out with Smile Though Your Heart. That's always been one of my favorites. Listen to the Tony Bennett version. The final showcase speaker is a junior majoring in biology composite teaching. She transcribes for the deaf, is a cadaver lab instructor, voice actor, and once won Best Actor in a Shakespearean play while portraying a man. Lindsay Moss.
Wow, what a wonderful night, right? It's a wonderful time. December itself is wonderful. It's a time for joyous celebrations. Maybe you're thinking about the celebrations you're going to be having soon, or maybe that you've already had. In this building, we've already had potlucks and retirement parties last week and today. Not long ago, a group of coworkers in San Bernardino, California were gathering for their own holiday party. They were laughing and eating and joking up until bullets started flying and people started dying. This holiday season, I want to invite you to think about what you would do if you were at a party or in a store or in a theater, and you suddenly found yourself, your friends, your family under attack. What would you do? Active shooter events are a problem that is not going away, and any one of us is a potential target, but not perhaps a potential victim, if we can manage to give ourselves more time ahead of time. Recently, the FBI published a study of 160 active shooter events between 2000 and 2013. In the first 7 years that they studied, the average was about 6.4 shootings a year. That's bad enough. For the next 7 years, that average increased 150%. And so we were having an average of 1 shooting every 3 weeks. That was then, and this is now. On August 26th, the FBI reported, and an article calendared, that in 2015 alone, We are averaging more than one shooting event every day. Now, active shooter events are three of the worst things that a disaster can be: frequent, fast, and fatal. In the same study, the FBI realized that shootings are events that start, horrify, and end in a matter of minutes. 69% of shootings end in 5 minutes or less. More than a third are over in 2 minutes or less. 60% of these events are over before law enforcement can even arrive. And you might be thinking, oh, good. That means you don't have to live through this horror for very long. True. But that means you're making life and death decisions on your own without law enforcement help in 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or less. Now, even worse, a majority of these shooting events end on the shooter's initiative, whether they commit suicide or flee or just decide to stop shooting. So these decisions you make, odds are you're probably not even affecting the outcome. And we know that when these shooters go, they don't go quietly. Look at this calendar again. These are not just shooting events, these are mass killings. For a shooting event to be classified as a mass killing, 4 or more people have to die on the scene. That means this year, we are averaging 4 or more people dying every day in a shooting event. This doesn't include other shooting events that aren't mass killings. And it only goes up to August 26th. It doesn't even include San Bernardino. Now, the data here are frightening, but not paralyzing. Just like we don't expect people to face a fire for the first time and know what to do, we have fire drills. We can do the same thing with shooter events. We can make a plan. Make a plan with your family. Talk to your spouse and your older children if you think it's appropriate. Discuss options of what you could do if you were together or if you were separate. If something were to happen in your home or in your neighborhood, you can make a plan at work. Organize or advocate to your superiors to organize a protocol of what you could do. It's these same kind of planning sessions. Consider reaching out to local law enforcement and have them conduct their own drills in your area so that you know that they're prepared. And finally, make a plan with yourself. Anytime you enter a new place, find exits, think about the space, think about what you do, and think about it more than once so that you know that you're ready to act if something were to happen. Now, these plans you make, they don't have to be complicated. In fact, they shouldn't be. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security have actually come out with a protocol of 3 simple strategies that any one of us can do if we just think about it. The first is to run. If you can escape safely, do so. Remember that your life is the priority here, so leave your belongings behind. If you can bring someone with you, do so. Save a life. If they're confused or they think maybe staying is the best option, bring them with you. But if they're going to slow you down and impede your escape, leave them behind. Do not become another victim if this other person is determined to be so. And most importantly for this strategy is to call 911 as soon as it is safe to do so. Get law enforcement on the scene. Now, if you can't escape safely, the next strategy is to hide. Get out of line of sight of the shooter. Put something solid between you and any bullets that might come your way. As well, make sure you silence your phone and any other devices in the room with you, like TVs or radios. Remember, these events are over quickly. So if you can just not give the shooter a reason to look for you, odds are you won't. Now, if you can't run and you can't hide, the third strategy is to fight. Fight back against the shooter. Remember, this person is not going to spare you, so you need to be aggressive. Improvise weapons, throw things. And most importantly, be committed to your actions. If you're trapped with other people, their lives are on you if you fail to act when you're called upon to do so. Now, these are 3 simple strategies. As simple as stop, drop, and roll. And if we give our plans the same repetition as fire drills, we can turn future tragedy into triumph. 13% of the events studied by the FBI ended when unarmed civilians managed to successfully restrain the shooter. Unarmed civilians. You don't have to be professional or even armed to act in these situations. The important thing is that you have a plan, you're committed to your actions, and then you do act. Now, these events are over so fast. If you can just run away fast enough or hide long enough, no engagement with a shooter may ever be necessary. What's important is having a plan, being committed, and acting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are not ignorant of this issue anymore. It is no longer the time for surprise. Any one of us can run, hide, or fight. So talk with your family, plan with your work, and think on your own. Because if we just start thinking now, we just might live later.
To award our speech showcase finalists with their honorariums, please welcome to the podium Dr. Roderick Land.
Oh, okay. Good evening. Good evening. I like that voice. Let's try, I heard your voice. Let's try the rest of everybody else. Good evening. Good evening. Much better. How's everybody doing tonight? Great. Wonderful. This is such a wonderful, wonderful event. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me here as Mark. As Mark had mentioned before, Pastor Davis cannot make it because of a death in his family, so I'm standing in his stead as opposed to Pastor Davis being here. But as I want to just talk just briefly today, I would just say first and foremost, you made a huge mistake by giving a preacher the mic. That's not good. He gave me 2 minutes, but 2 minutes is already gone already, just with my introduction. But as we think about this notion of speaking, right, what I want to share with you just briefly is how important it is to speak. Speak up and speak out and speak out often. Because if you think about this, the things that you have to share, the things that you have to say are very important. Because if you understand how many people are out there who do not have a voice, so you have to become the voice for the voiceless. So whether we're talking about, and I can't give it to you, Aaron, on this one, by eating insects, but the idea of saving the planet, right? That's phenomenal, right? How often can we speak up and speak out about those things? Or if we're talking about art education and the funding of the arts, what about those art students who can't speak for themselves? Who speaks to the legislatures about how do we instill funding within our school systems to fund the arts? If we're talking about smiling, right? It's a wonderful thing. This is a phony smile right here, right? but I'm really smiling on the inside, right? But how important that is for us for the longevity of our life, right? But if you also talk about this idea of the active shooter, right? Now that's tremendous. Now that could definitely save a life. But I talked about these things in a very particular fashion. I didn't forget about hope, right? Because that's what I want to end on as we talk about this idea of speaking up and speaking out. I live by a particular acronym, and that acronym is HOPE, right? Hope is a phenomenal thing. It's a wonderful thing. What that means for me is to help others progress every day. And that's what we do when we speak up and we speak out quite often. How do we help others progress every day? That gives us that hope. So even though we may do it through an artistic format, we have helped hope progress. We saw the resemblance of what has happened to her in her life as a result of this wonderful painting. If we talk about, again, the art piece or the active shooter, how are we instilling hope in people's lives? And so the thing that I want to say more importantly as we speak up and speak out is that it takes courage. It takes courage, tremendous courage. If you don't have the courage to speak up and speak up often, then who are you leaving behind? Who will continue to be left out? Who does not have a voice? So in the words of one of my favorite people, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., since his Human Rights Day, he has so eloquently stated, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So speak up, speak out, and speak often. Thank you.
Please welcome to the podium one more time, Weber State University President Charles White. And now, Sonia, if you would please join us at the podium. Stay right here. Okay, we are now going to honor our 6 showcase speakers. Okay, Holly Morfitt. Aaron Cook. Trevor Grayson. Nathan Tinsley. Christine Bowman. Lindsay Moss. Gentlemen, you may remain here if you'd like to return to your seats. Sonia. Okay, we're the three amigos here. It's going to get better. Weber speaks. 2 words that unite Weber State University with our municipal communities, neighborhoods, as well as global associates. They express, much like we have seen this evening, the actions our students will demonstrate or persuade audiences to do through their speeches wherever they may travel, near or far. A call-responsive behavior between speaker and audience has academic merit, history, and provides an audible connection that indicates an audience understands the message of a speaker. Weber is a noun that identifies who we are in our part of the world. Speaks is a verb requiring action. Please say these words with me and with a little bit of enthusiasm.
Weber speaks.
Dr. Land, do you think they heard that in Logan? I don't think they heard that at all. How do we say it?
Weber speaks.
I don't think they heard us in Salt Lake. Do you think they heard it in Salt Lake? Come on, folks. Do you want those people at the University of Utah?
Don't go there, Berkeley.
Let's one more time.
Weber speaks.
You're early. Wait a minute. Now, this is where Dr. Land is going to lead us in the Weber Speaks Anthem. Thanks, guys. It was fun, but...
Did you have a plan? Okay. Just saying. I saw that, and I was looking towards you to do something. Refocus, right? Refocus.
Here we go.
Weber speaks, right? When an answer to a problem is needed.
Weber speaks.
I don't think that was good.
Let's see what we can do with this next one.
Whenever conflict or justice demands a resolution.
Weber speaks.
Should fear threaten to silence the voice of freedom.
Weber speaks.
Thank you. Now, Papa.
Now, while that was all wonderful and good, since we've popped our...
God's humor.
I said when he said it.
But we can go so many different places with that. But we shall not. We have a family function tonight. But the thing is this. If you think about all those great orators that has come before us, as Mark has mentioned before, or President White had mentioned, I think it was you, the great orators that come before us, the Martin Luther Kings, the Thomas Jeffersons, the Abraham Lincolns, all the Winston Churchills, the things that they were talking about, it allowed them to shed light on particular situations. So when you speak, when Weber speaks, you are to shed your light on those situations that you have within your anthem. So, having said that,
Okay.
I think there's a great analogy here. So when I speak, I want to shed light on certain things. There's this great old song that they used to sing, "This Little Light of Mine." Who knows this? So if you know it, I want to hear you sing it. This little light of mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hey, you know what? I've got a new verse for that. This little speech of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little speech of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little speech of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Get on your feet! One more time. Here we go. Come on.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little